The transfer portal is back open, so let's look at Mountain West football. Spring ball is well underway, so we're back here on the Big Mountain to keep you updated. Hey, it's JY here with the Big Mountain, wanting to take a closer look at the transfer portal for Mountain West football teams. Yes, the portal is opened once again. I want to go team by team, just hit on some highlights here of every team in the Mountain West, some of the transfers that are coming in to play for these Mountain West teams. I'm not going to talk about transfers out and be focused on some of the higher end transfers coming in. We'll go in alphabetical order here. So Air Force, of course, a service academy. They don't get to partake in the transfer portal. So we'll jump to Boise State. Jaden Mickey coming in here. He's a cornerback from Notre Dame. He did get in some games there for the Irish pretty early on last season. And, secondary was my biggest concern for Boise State last year. So looking to bolster that here with Mickey from Notre Dame. Also, they bring in an offensive tackle from Ohio State. Miles Walker joins the Broncos. And then, of course, we knew this long ago, but have to talk about it again. Malik Sherrod here, a running back that they get from Fresno State. Really looked impressive here in the spring game and spring ball so far. Probably splitting carries and possibly the number one back here going into next year for the Broncos. They are looking for another receiver from what I have seen here. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Of course, the portal is open right now. Moving to Colorado State, they bring in some secondary talent. Jake Jarmalowitz from Holy Cross. He is a safety. They bring in C.J. Blocker, a cornerback from Utah, played in one game there last year for the Utes. And also another cornerback, Jahari Rogers from SMU. He's a senior, and he played in several games there for the Mustangs. Moving on to Fresno State, had a lot of turnover, especially in terms of that offensive production. I talked about Sherrod here just a minute ago. They bring in the Rice's starting quarterback, E.J. Warner. He was the starter last year, as I say, had a 62% completion rating there for the Rice Owls, had 17 touchdown passes and 13 interceptions. So he looks to be the guy that's going to be taking over Mikey Keene's starting job there for the Bulldogs. They also bring in a running back from Arizona who had a few carries last year, Rayshawn Luke, again, running back from Arizona. And also for the receivers, they get Jahild McClain from Louisville. So yes, they lost a lot of production on offense, looking to try and replace that, some through the transfer portal. Let's talk about the Rainbows out there in Hawaii. They're bringing in some receivers. They have Jackson Hill from Stanford and also Brandon White from Kentucky, looking to give them a little more options at the receiver position. Moving to the Nevada Wolfpack, lost some big names on offense. Lewis is out. Red is in the portal, but they have added on the defensive side on the ball. They add a safety, Hayden McDonald from Columbia. They add a linebacker from Indiana here, Najee Logan, and then Jake McKinnon, an edge player from Michigan. So pulling in some Big Ten talent there for Nevada. We'll see how they do in replenishing some of their offense. I don't think the quarterback issue is going to be too big. Losing Lewis, Purdy there waiting in the wings will be ready to go. But they have tried to upgrade their defense there, has the Wolfpack. Let's talk about the New Mexico Lobos. Lots of turnover, of course. Bronco Mendenhall moving on to Utah State. And they lose talent, but I'll tell you what, they're bringing in a ton of talent right now as well. They are the third best G5 in the country, bringing in talent via the transfer portal with 29 commitments thus far. The biggest add here, the running back from Montana State, Scottree Humphrey, he had 199 carries, over 1,300 yards, and 16 rushing touchdowns last year. He is going to be a beast for the Lobos. They also bring in a receiver, Keegan Johnson, from Kansas State. He was second on the team there for Kansas State. 29 receptions for 359 yards. On the D side, they bring in two edge players, Keyshawn James Newby and Xavier Slayton, both coming from Idaho, and also a linebacker from Idaho, Jackson Eck. So very interesting to see what this team is going to be like. Again, did a great job last year under Coach Bronco Mendenhall, but they are stacking up again to maybe be a potential surprise here in the Mountain West if they can come together and gel quickly. Let's talk about the San Diego State Aztecs, bringing in some offensive talent here for Coach Lewis's Aztec Fast. Jaden Denegal, quarterback from Michigan, was added. Also, Christian Washington, a running back from Coastal Carolina. He was second on the team last year, 102 carries, 537 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Also bring in a receiver from Texas A&M, Jacob Bostic. So trying to bolster that offense there for the Aztecs. And they also bring in a tight end from Tulsa, Jackson Ford. So a lot of turnover there for the Aztec offense. Let's talk about San Jose State, losing 2 of their top wide receivers to the draft. And of course, Hurry, their third receiver, is currently in the portal. But they look to bring in receivers. They add Leland Smith from Purdue. They add Malachi Riley from Arizona. And they add Danny Scudero from Sac State. Smith here with Purdue. He's a 6'4" sophomore, had 6 receptions, 72 yards, and 2 touchdowns with a pretty bad Purdue team last year. I look for him to probably be the number 1 receiver going into next year. Anxious to see what this offense can do. Obviously, Egett is back as the quarterback. He is going to be at, behind center there. All trust in him to move this team forward. Really like what they got going on there in San Jose State. Let's talk about UNLV, another team just like the Lobos. Yes, there's turnover going out, but man, they are bringing lots of talent in. I mentioned the Lobos were 3rd in G5 in transfers. UNLV is 4th in G5 with 36 transfers coming in. So 2 of the top teams in the G5 here in terms of transfers coming in would both be the Lobos and the Rebels here in the Mountain West. Of course, they bring in 2 quarterbacks, Anthony Colandrea from Virginia and also Alex Orji from Michigan. You have to think Colandrea is likely the starter here to start, but I'm sure they're going to give Orji his time as well. Jalen Glover, a running back from Utah. He carried 12 times for 60 yards last year with the Utes. And then at quarterback, they bring in Denver Harris from UTSA. So lots of talent there. Again, can't go over everybody. Just want to hit the highlights here. And of course, we'll keep our eye on this as the portal closes and we have a better feel of where the teams are going to be at moving into the season. Let's go to our last 2 teams here. Utah State. Of course, several players leaving New Mexico following Bronco up there to Utah State. He's looking at bringing in Anthony Garcia, a quarterback from Arizona. He'll challenge Barnes there at the quarterback position. And then also Brady Boyd as a receiver from Texas Tech added there to the Aggies lineup. Last one, Wyoming, so far pretty quiet overall in terms of bringing players in. They did add some wide receiver depth here. Eric Richardson from Missouri State and Jackson Holman from Arizona. They also add a cornerback, Jaden DaCosta from Portland State, and several other defensive players there arriving in Laramie. More work to do. I've seen some headlines on them and reporting that looking to add a few more pieces to that puzzle there for the Cowboys here before this transfer portal closes. So just wanted to go over some of the highlights. I think there's a lot of great news coming out of the Mountain West. Certainly some players and teams that I'm going to be watching very, very closely. Love seeing what the Lobos and the Rebels are doing right now, trying to chase down the Broncos, who have won back-to-back Mountain West championships. Of course, we're going to be delving much deeper into football over the course of this summer as we're heading up to August and the kickoff of college football in 2025. We can't wait for it. So, hey, if you like our content, we do everything Mountain West and we do everything Big Ten. And of course, we follow the Pac-12 as well. Make sure you give this one a like and subscribe if you like our content. We'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.